Hey, what's going on? This is Troy, and this is the Planet 76 podcast, your source for Sixers news, highlights, hot takes, and more. Welcome to the show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Planet 76 podcast. I'm your host, Michael from Trust to Love, hosting solo this week. Troy is on vacation, so I'm going to be taking the reins on this mini episode this week, episode 14.5, technically, because last week was 14, but this isn't really a full episode, so it's just going to be a short episode, so I'm just going to call it a half episode, 14.5. And as always, before we start, make sure you guys go subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you guys go follow us on Instagram, Planet76 Podcast on there, and also go follow us as well. Go follow Troy, go follow me. And with that, I'm going to get right into the episode. It's going to be a short one this week, as I mentioned before. Troy is on vacation, so I'm going to be taking the reins on this one, and we're going to get right into it. Basically, a couple topics I'm going to discuss with you guys, and we're just going to dive right in. So, the Sixers schedule. Now, I know that Troy and I did mention and talk about the Sixers schedule in last week's episode. However, I wanted to touch on a few more things with that. So I think the Sixers have somewhere close to around 14 nationally televised games this season, which is pretty good. I think they were in the top 10 for nationally televised games per team this season. Really going to be nice to see the Sixers on the national stage. As always, as much as we like watching the game on NBC Sports Philly, it's nice to see them on the national stage, getting national recognition, because a lot of the times with the Sixers, they aren't able to get the recognition that they deserve, especially guys like Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, because people aren't watching them on a nightly basis because of them being on NBC Sports Philly. And when you have them on nationally televised stations like ESPN, ABC, TNT, more people can watch these guys and watch our team play and acknowledge the talent that we have. As I mentioned before, guys like Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey even. So it's going to be really nice to have some more nationally televised games this year. Well, this season, I guess you could say. But that's all I wanted to touch on with the Sixers schedule. The next thing I wanted to talk about was something I saw today on Twitter, actually kind of funny, to be honest with you. So they did a study. I think it was, I forget who exactly it was, but they did a study, and the Sixers fan base came out as the most stressed NBA fan base, with 29% of fans feeling uneasy about games. 29% of fans feeling uneasy about games. And that should tell you a little bit as to the kind of fan base that we are. Myself included. I'm not excluded in this, and I can probably speak for Troy as well, but 29% of fans, that's almost a quarter of our fan base. Well, it's over a quarter of our fan base feeling uneasy about games. And again, that's something that, if you look at the team and look at how things have played out in past years, it makes sense, especially with all the unknowns, usually with things like Joel Embiid's health, Ben Simmons, and if he will play as we know he can, Tobias Harris, just so many things. And I think it all stems from the quadruple bounce shot in 2019. I think it all stems from that, because ever since then, the Sixers have not had the best time, especially in the playoffs. And feeling uneasy like that, it's not something that, is easy to get past, especially when the Sixers have had the events unfold that they've had in the past season in the playoffs. It's hard to trust this team going forward, at least, especially in the playoffs. So that, it says a lot about us as fans. And also, definitely the uneasy factor. Maybe some people tend to overreact a little bit, so the uneasiness goes up a little bit. But again, it's 29%, I'd say, is accurate. Maybe a little too high, but I'd say for the most part that's accurate, mostly because of the nature of the city of Philadelphia and the sports in this city So that makes sense to me. And the last little topic I wanted to touch on, and I know that Troy and I mentioned this last week, Joel Embiid's extension, his max deal. I believe it was around $190 million for 4 years because it's going to extend through 2026. But we just need to take a moment to appreciate Joel Embiid and the things that he's done for this city, and this team. This man has willingly and just been all out for this team. He's willingly made a commitment to this team and franchise to want to win here. He wants to win, and he wants to win here. He said that multiple times. People take this man for granted so much. I see it all the time on Twitter, especially on Twitter, even Instagram. People don't understand a generational talent when they see it. Joel Embiid is that guy, and if it wasn't clear already, it will be clear soon. There's no reason as to why anyone should ever have anything negative to say about Joel Embiid as a person and as a player. I mean, yeah, he has his antics and all this stuff, but every NBA player does. And when you have a guy like Joel Embiid on your team, the team that you root for, it's a lot different. And it's just something that we should all appreciate. I know I do it. I make posts about it. I tweet about it, all that stuff. Something we should all do, because a guy like this, let's be honest, he's not going to come around very often, and I doubt very much that there's going to be another guy like Joel Embiid for a long time, especially in the Sixers jersey. So I think we should all make a more conscious effort to appreciate Joel Embiid. So with that, that's the episode. Like I said, short episode for this week. We'll be back to normal next week when Troy is back. And yeah, that's gonna be it. So thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. Again, make sure you guys go follow us on Instagram, Planet 76 Podcast on there, and go follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, etc. Peace out.
You just listened to an episode of the Planet 76 podcast. Hey, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, why don't you hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.